It's not a new thing at all. In fact, it's a very old chestnut, short barrel lengths. Yeah, it goes back to artillery, cavalry, the carbine, giving a weapon to troops that don't need a full-length barrel to still be able to defend themselves and fight if they need to fight, or in the case of cavalry, that's their mode of fighting, a short weapon. And it features all of the features, or most of the features of the AK-12 as it stands in 2025. So the SP modifications, with that sort of molded over grip setup with the tool storage in the grip, that modernized, rather better from what I can tell, folding and adjustable stock. Slightly more questionably, the left-hand safety selector setup, that maybe the jury's out on that one. And of course, the railed top cover. Now, there was some controversy there with the first couple of iterations of the AK-12, at least, that top cover was not secure enough. So the classic problem, and it was the same with the old SLR in theory. That's why the optic for the sharpshooter came on its own top cover, and you have to sort of really look after that. These sheet metal top covers on weapons were never really designed, or never were designed, to mount an optical sight, which must keep it zero. Its point of impact must and point of aim must coincide, whatever you do. That, otherwise it's useless essentially. And there was a lot of criticism of the original AK-12, or the original issue AK-12, I should say, that was questionable. In theory, that would have been improved by now, and that improvement would have translated over to these new variants. So that should now be okay. If it isn't, then you have the option of mounting on the handguard rail, but then that is polymer and that is flexible, and you're not really going to want to trust that for an optic. So the hope would be that the rail at the rear, or on the top cover, is sound now. So this need for shorter barrel weapons, definitely not specific to Russia. We do have this specific origin of this thing, the AKS-74U, as a vehicle crew weapon primarily in the days of the Soviet Union, but other users later on realizing that a short-barreled AK is useful. The West is doing similar things with its AR-15 family and other options that are coming around. We do see other countries experiment with something in the middle, because that very short barrel on the AKS-74U really tops out at 200 meters. So the Yugoslavians, as they then were, Zastava, now Serbian, came up with this. So this is the M92, and it is a sort of medium length, giving you a little bit more barrel length to just maintain a little bit of velocity and therefore effectiveness at distance, but still extremely compact. And in this case, with the old school folding stock, which is definitely not as good as the side folder on the AKS-74U, and the modern AK-12 variants have their own update of that version. So side folding, but with length adjustable as well, like the parent AK-12. This was definitely not the way forward as far as the stock goes, but the mid-length clearly caught the eye of ISMASH, as they then were, because they came up with a whole range in the early 90s with the AK-100 series based on the AK-74M, and one of those in the 5.45 cartridge was the AK-105. So a proper rifle, as it were, but with a mid-length barrel setup, quite similar to the Yugoslavian take. So what we see here with the AK-12C and SC is really both of those. We're seeing finally, very belated, because there has never been a direct update to this very short vehicle crew type weapon. The AKS-74U now has a modern counterpart. And then we're also seeing an AK-12ified version of essentially the AK-105. So between those three barrel lengths and overall weapon lengths of the AK-12, the C and the SC, you've in theory got a sort of toolbox to choose from depending on probably what unit you are, more so than where you happen to be fighting. You're going to be stuck with what you're issued with, of course, at the end of the day. We have this sort of truncated, pronged flash suppressor with the ability to slot a quick detach mount for a sound suppressor. That is a convenience for sure. That's something we see on Western small arms increasingly. So you get the advantage of a flash suppressor with usually with prongs, but other ways to do it. And then over the top locks on your sound suppressor, which is like almost eliminating flash entirely, and obviously bringing down the decibels. So another feature shared with the whole AK-12 family is that quite distinctive magazine. We have that flat on the bottom for a magazine rested position, but also the windows in the magazine so you can readily see what's in your magazines. Clearly a useful feature. To what extent soldiers actually use this feature, I would actually be interested to know. So maybe people in the comments can say how useful they think these different versions of telling you how many rounds you have left actually are.
Thanks for watching. For more from BFBS Forces News, like and subscribe to our channel.